Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare $quarter coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today, we're diving into a modern treasure that has caught the eyes of collectors everywhere, a coin that not only carries value in money but also in meaning. We're talking about the United States $quarter that honors Maya Angelou, a true icon of American history and culture. This quarter is part of the American Women Quarters program, a series that began to celebrate the contributions of extraordinary women to the nation. The Maya Angelou quarter was released in 2022, and from the very first day, it stood out. Imagine holding in your hand a piece of change that also tells a story of strength, creativity, and inspiration. That's exactly what this coin delivers. On the obverse side, you'll find the familiar portrait of George Washington, but with a twist. Instead of the forward-facing bust we've seen for decades, this portrait is a brand new design by Laura Garden Fraser, one that many collectors have admired since it was first proposed nearly a century ago. It gives the coin a fresh yet historic feel, connecting past artistry with today's celebration. The reverse is where the magic really happens. Maya Angelou is shown with her arms lifted high, a gesture of confidence and joy, with a bird soaring behind her and rays of light shining around. It's a powerful image, a tribute to her famous autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and it turns an ordinary coin into something poetic and deeply moving. Now let's talk rarity and why collectors care so much. While millions of these quarters were struck for circulation, not all are created equal. Coins pulled directly from bank rolls or mint sets and kept in pristine condition are already gaining attention. Collectors are racing to secure the highest grade examples, because the better the condition, the greater the value in the future. But condition isn't the only factor. Errors and unique varieties are where this coin gets really exciting. There have been reports of double dies, off-center strikes, and weak strikes on some Maya Angelou quarters. These errors might seem small to the untrained eye, but for collectors they can turn a regular quarter into a true rarity. Imagine a coin with a double detail in Maya Angelou's arms or in the rays of light behind her, that could instantly increase its desirability. Another interesting point is that these quarters were struck at multiple mints, including Philadelphia and Denver for circulation, and San Francisco for collectors. The mint mark alone can affect how desirable a coin becomes. San Francisco proof coins, for example, are often struck with a mirror-like finish and are prized for their beauty and limited release. For collectors, the Maya Angelou quarter isn't just another coin, it's a piece of history they can hold. It celebrates an American legend, carries powerful symbolism, and offers the chance to discover rare errors that make it truly unique. Whether you're a casual collector, someone just starting out, or a seasoned treasure hunter, this coin has something for everyone. And now comes the part you've been waiting for, the value. A standard Maya Angelou quarter in circulation is of course worth its face value, but in pristine mint state, these coins have been selling for impressive amounts. Some high-grade examples have already reached prices in the hundreds of dollars, while rare error coins and proof versions have crossed into the thousands at auction. Yes, thousands of dollars for a single quarter that you might overlook in your pocket change. So next time you come across a Maya Angelou quarter, take a closer look. Check the condition, check the mint mark, and keep an eye out for those rare errors. You never know, that little piece of change could end up being worth far more than 25 cents. Top 2, we're going back to the early 90s to talk about a coin that many people overlook, but collectors know has hidden treasures waiting to be discovered. We're diving into the United States $quarter from 1993. At first glance it may look like just another Washington quarter, the same kind you've seen all your life, but trust me, this coin holds more than a few surprises. The year 1993 was part of the last stretch before the famous state quarters program began in 1999. Back then, the standard Washington quarter design was still in use, featuring the classic portrait of George Washington on the obverse, a design that had been on our coins since 1932. On the reverse, you'll find the familiar bald eagle, wings spread proudly, a symbol of strength and freedom. While this design may seem ordinary, it was nearing the end of an era, which adds to the charm and nostalgia of coins from this period. Now, let's get into why the 1993 quarter can be interesting for collectors. First of all, mintage numbers. The Philadelphia and Denver mints struck hundreds of millions of these coins, which means that most circulated pieces are very common. But as collectors know, the story doesn't end there. The real gems are the coins that survive in pristine, uncirculated condition. A 1993 quarter that's been kept safe, free from scratches and wear, can become highly desirable, especially when graded by professional services. But what really sets the 1993 quarter apart are the varieties and errors that slipped out of the mint that year. Error coins are what truly excite treasure hunters, because they transform a common coin into a rare prize. Some examples include off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the coin wasn't aligned properly during minting. Others include double dies, where parts of the lettering or design look doubled, giving the coin a striking and unusual appearance. There are also die cracks, cuds, and weak strikes that collectors chase because they add uniqueness to a coin that millions of people might otherwise ignore. Proof versions of the 1993 quarter, struck at the San Francisco Mint, are another area where value comes into play. Proof coins are made with special dies and polished blanks, resulting in mirror-like surfaces and frosted details. These were sold directly to collectors, and when kept in flawless condition, they can command strong prices. The silver-proof versions are even more collectible, since they were struck in 90% silver and produced in much smaller numbers compared to the regular copper-nickel-clad coins. What makes the 1993 quarter especially appealing is that it straddles two collecting worlds. On one hand, it's part of the long-running Washington Quarter series, and on the other, it's just a few years away from the historic state quarters program that reignited coin collecting for millions of people. For many collectors, coins like the 1993 quarter represent the bridge between tradition and modern collecting, which adds sentimental value on top of monetary worth. Condition, rarity, mint mark, and errors are the big factors to watch for with this coin. A typical circulated 1993 quarter might only be worth its face value, but if you find a pristine mint state example or one with a dramatic error, you're holding something truly special. And now for the part that excites everyone, the value. High-grade mint state 1993 quarters have been sold in the marketplace for well over $100, while proof silver versions in perfect condition can reach into the hundreds. Rare error coins, depending on the type and how dramatic the mistake is, have crossed into the thousands at auction, making this little coin from 1993 far more valuable than most people realize. So the next time you're digging through change or looking at an old collection, don't brush past a 1993 quarter. Take a close look, check for errors, check the condition, and you just might discover that what looks like an ordinary piece of change is actually a hidden treasure. Top 3, we're taking a trip back to the start of the 1990s, a time when the Washington Quarter still carried its classic eagle design before the arrival of the state quarters program. Our focus is on the 1990 United States quarter dollar, a coin that may look ordinary at first glance, but for collectors, it carries some exciting possibilities you'll want to hear about. The 1990 quarter still features the beloved portrait of George Washington on the obverse, a design by John Flanagan that has been a fixture on American coinage since 1932. The reverse shows the proud bald eagle perched with its wings spread, clutching arrows and surrounded by laurel branches. It's a powerful image of freedom and strength, one that would soon be retired by the government when the state quarters began in 1999. Because of this, quarters from the early 1990s represent the closing chapter of a long-running design, which gives them a nostalgic appeal to many collectors today. Now, let's talk about why the 1990 quarter is worth a closer look. Millions were produced at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, which means that in circulation, these coins are fairly common. However, condition is key. Finding one that has survived more than 3 decades without scratches, wear, or dings is not easy. Coins preserved in pristine mint state condition are what collectors prize most, and the higher the grade, the more the value climbs, but the real excitement comes from errors and varieties. The 1990 quarter has been known to appear with interesting minting mistakes. Examples include off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned, leaving blank space on one side of the coin. Another possibility is a double die, where parts of the lettering or design show doubling, giving the coin a striking and unusual look. Even small die cracks or cuds, raised metal blobs where the die broke, can add uniqueness and boost collector interest. These errors were not made in large quantities, so spotting one in your pocket change could mean you're holding something rare. Proof coins from the San Francisco Mint also deserve attention. These were struck with polished dies and special care, producing mirror-like surfaces and sharp frosted details. Collectors love them for their beauty, and when kept in flawless condition, they can be quite valuable. Even more special are the silver-proof versions, made in 90% silver. These were produced in smaller numbers and were never intended for circulation, which makes them highly desirable today. Another factor collectors pay attention to is the mint mark. A 1990 quarter with no mint mark means it was struck in Philadelphia, while coins with AD were minted in Denver. Proofs carry an S mark for San Francisco. While millions were made across all three mints, finding high-grade examples or error coins from any mint can make a big difference in value. What makes the 1990 quarter so intriguing is that it stands at the threshold of change. It belongs to the final decade of the traditional eagleback design, yet it's still modern enough to be found in circulation. That combination makes it appealing both to newer collectors and to seasoned hobbyists who remember these coins from daily USE. So now we get to the part everyone waits for, the value. A regular 1990 quarter pulled from circulation is of course worth only 25 cents, but that's just the beginning of the story. Coins in pristine mint state condition have sold for well over $100, proof versions can fetch hundreds, and rare silver proofs and dramatic error coins have crossed into the thousands at auction. Yes, thousands of dollars for what many people see as just an ordinary quarter. The lesson here is simple: never underestimate the coins in your pocket. That 1990 quarter you set aside or overlooked could turn out to be far more valuable than you think. Always check the condition, always look for errors, and always keep an eye out for those hidden treasures. Top 4. We're traveling back to the early 1980s, a time of big changes in American coinage. Our focus is on the 1982 United States quarter dollar, a coin that might seem ordinary when you first see it, but for collectors it's full of surprises, hidden stories, and even some very valuable errors that can turn a simple piece of change into a small fortune. The 1982 quarter still carries the classic Washington design. On the obverse side is George Washington's familiar portrait, first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of his birth. On the reverse, we see the proud American bald eagle with wings spread wide, arrows clutched in its talons, a design that had been the face of our quarters for decades before the state quarters program arrived in 1999. By 1982, this design was an American icon, instantly recognizable and a daily part of life for millions of people. But what makes 1982 such an important year is the changes happening at the United States Mint. The economy was struggling, inflation was high, and to save money, the Mint decided to stop producing mint sets that year. This meant no official government-issued mint sets for collectors in 1982, which makes finding pristine examples of these coins much harder today. Most of the 1982 quarters went straight into circulation, picking up scratches, wear, and damage. That alone makes high-grade survivors very attractive to collectors. Errors and varieties are another exciting reason the 1982 quarter gets attention. There are well-known off-center strikes from this year, where the design is shifted and leaves part of the blank planchet visible. Some coins show doubling in the lettering or in details of Washington's portrait, a result of double dies during the minting process. Other examples include die cracks, where raised lines appear across the surface, or cuds, where chunks of the design are missing due to broken dies. These mistakes are rare, and each one makes a coin unique, which is why collectors chase them passionately. Another important factor is the mint mark. In 1982, quarters were struck in Philadelphia and Denver, carrying either no mint mark or AD. Because mint sets weren't produced, finding gem-quality examples from either mint is a real challenge. Collectors know that coins in the highest grades are extremely scarce, and when they appear at auction, the bidding often goes far beyond what most people would expect for a coin that started life worth only 25 cents. Proof versions of the 1982 quarter were also struck in San Francisco, but these were sold directly to collectors. The mirror-like fields and frosted designs make them beautiful to look at, but even these can carry value if they've been preserved carefully and graded as flawless. The story of the 1982 quarter really blends rarity, history, and condition into one. It's a coin from a transitional year, a year when the mint was cutting costs, a year when the usual supply of pristine collector coins wasn't made. That combination makes even an everyday-looking 1982 quarter worth a second glance. For collectors, it's not just about owning another Washington quarter, it's about holding a piece of history that represents a time of economic struggle and change in American coinage. So what about the value? Here's where things get exciting. A typical 1982 quarter found in circulation is worth face value, just 25 cents. But in uncirculated mint state condition, these coins have sold for hundreds of dollars. Proof examples can also reach into the hundreds when graded at the top levels. And those rare error coins, like dramatic off-center strikes or double dies, have crossed into the thousands of dollars at auction. Yes, thousands for a coin that most people would casually spend without a second thought. The lesson is clear: never underestimate the coins in your pocket. That 1982 quarter you find could be far more than just pocket change, it might be a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. Top 5, and last rare coin, we're going to explore a coin that millions of people have handled without ever giving it a second thought. It's the 1985 United States quarter dollar. At first glance it may seem like just another Washington quarter, but coin collectors know there's always more beneath the surface. When you start looking closely, you'll discover stories of rarity, hidden errors, and some surprising values that make this coin worth paying attention to. The 1985 quarter keeps the classic Washington design that dates back to 1932. On the front, or obverse, is the portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, with the word Liberty above and In God We Trust to the side. On the reverse is the bald eagle, wings spread proudly, clutching arrows while surrounded by olive branches. This design had already been in use for more than 50 years by 1985, making it one of the most familiar coin images in America at the time. But even though the design looks common, the story of the 1985 quarter is more interesting than most people realize. The Philadelphia and Denver mints produced hundreds of millions of these coins, which means circulated examples are easy to find. But here's where things get exciting: most of those coins were used daily, passed from hand to hand, and ended up scratched, worn, or damaged. Finding one in pristine condition is much rarer than you'd think. High-grade mint state examples are the ones collectors are chasing, because the difference in value between a well-worn coin and a flawless one can be dramatic. Now let's talk about the true gems, the error coins. The 1985 quarter is known for some fascinating minting mistakes. Off-center strikes are one example, where the design doesn't sit properly on the blank planchet, leaving empty space on one side. There are also examples of die cracks, where raised lines of metal appear on the coin because of damage to the minting dies. Some collectors have found double dies from this year too, where parts of the lettering or numbers appear doubled, creating a dramatic and collectible effect. Even small cuds, areas where pieces of the die broke off, can make a coin unique and valuable. Another important detail is the mint mark. Coins struck in Philadelphia carry no mint mark, while Denver coins are marked with AD. Proof versions were struck in San Francisco with the S mark. The regular circulation coins from Philadelphia and Denver may seem common, but the higher the grade, the rarer they get. The San Francisco proof coins, with their mirror-like finish and frosted details, are always a hit with collectors. And don't forget that in 1985, silver proofs were not part of regular mint production, so collectors who want silver pieces must turn to special sets. What makes the 1985 quarter especially appealing is that it sits in an era before the state quarters program, which completely changed collecting habits in the late 1990s. Coins from the 1980s are still modern enough to show up in circulation today, but they're old enough that high-grade survivors and error coins are getting harder and harder to find. That combination makes the 1985 quarter stand out as a hidden opportunity for collectors who know what to look for. Now for the part everyone wants to know, the value. A regular 1985 quarter pulled from circulation is worth only 25 cents. But in mint state condition, collectors have paid over $100 for high-grade examples. Proof coins from San Francisco in perfect condition have sold for hundreds. And rare error coins, such as dramatic off-center strikes or double dies, have been auctioned for prices reaching into the thousands of dollars. Yes, thousands for a coin most people don't even notice in their pocket change. So the next time you see a 1985 quarter, don't dismiss it. Take a closer look at the mint mark, check the condition carefully, and keep an eye out for errors. You might just have a hidden treasure sitting in your change jar. Thanks so much for watching, friends. If you enjoyed learning about the secrets of the 1985 quarter dollar, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you never miss another story about rare and valuable coins. Until next time, happy hunting and happy collecting.